July 1953, 2 days before the Armistice. No Man's Land, 38th parallel. Private Danny Walsh has a Chinese soldier in his sights. Perfect shot. 300 yards, clear line of sight. The Chinese soldier is exposed, moving between positions. Walsh is a good shot, he won't miss. His squad leader, Sergeant Miller, is next to him, watching through binoculars. "You got him," Walsh nods, finger on the trigger, but he doesn't shoot, because something doesn't make sense. The war ends in 48 hours. The armistice is signed. Fighting stops at 2200 hours on July 27th. It's July 25th. In 2 days, this Chinese soldier won't be an enemy anymore. He'll just be a soldier going home, just like Walsh. Miller sees Walsh hesitating. "What's wrong? Take the shot." Walsh: "Sarge, the war's over in 2 days. Does it matter?" Miller: "War's not over until it's over. Take the shot." Walsh thinks about it. Then he makes a decision. He shifts his aim 6 inches to the left and fires. The bullet hits the dirt next to the Chinese soldier. The soldier dives for cover, unhurt. Miller is furious. "You missed at 300 yards. Bullshit. You missed on purpose." Walsh doesn't deny it. "Yes, Sergeant, I did." Miller: "Why the hell would you do that?" Walsh: "Because in 48 hours we're all going home, that guy included. Didn't seem right to kill him 2 days before the war ends." Miller stares at him. "That's not your decision to make. If you're ordered to shoot, you shoot." Walsh: "Yes, Sergeant, next time I'll shoot." But there is no next time because something unexpected happens. The Chinese soldier Walsh missed, he doesn't return fire. He could. He has Walsh's position. He has a rifle, but he doesn't shoot. He just stays in cover, watching. Miller notices this. "That's weird. He should be shooting back." Walsh: "Maybe he's thinking the same thing I am. War ends in 2 days. Why die now?" Miller doesn't respond. But over the next 48 hours, something strange happens along that section of the line. Both sides stop shooting, not officially. There's no ceasefire order. But the American and Chinese soldiers, they just stop. They're still in position, still armed, but nobody's pulling triggers. It spreads. Other sections of the line, soldiers hear about it. The Americans at Sector 7 stopped shooting. The Chinese too, they're just waiting for the armistice. Within 24 hours, a roughly 2-mile stretch of the front line has gone quiet. Soldiers on both sides sitting in their positions, watching each other but not fighting. It's an unofficial ceasefire, started by one rifleman who missed on purpose. The officers notice. They're confused. There's been no order to cease fire. But their men aren't shooting. The company commander calls Sergeant Miller. "What's going on in your sector? Why has firing stopped?" Miller explains. "Sir, Private Walsh missed a shot yesterday on purpose. The Chinese soldier didn't shoot back. Since then both sides have just stopped. Nobody wants to be the last guy killed before the armistice." The company commander is conflicted. Technically, his men are disobeying standing orders to engage the enemy, but the war ends in 24 hours. Does it matter? He makes a decision. Keep your men alert. If the Chinese attack, defend. But if they're not shooting, we're not shooting either. The word goes up the chain. Battalion commander hears about it. Division commander. By the evening of July 26th, senior officers are aware that a 2-mile section of the front line has effectively ceased hostilities a day early. They could order their troops to resume firing, but they don't, because nobody wants to explain why they ordered men to die 24 hours before the official ceasefire, so they let it stand. The unofficial ceasefire continues. July 27, 2200 hours. The official armistice takes effect. Fighting stops across the entire Korean front, but in Sector 7 it had already stopped 48 hours earlier, because one private missed on purpose. Walsh doesn't think much about it. He goes home in August 1953, resumes his life, works construction in Philadelphia, gets married, has 3 kids, never talks about Korea much. In 1978, Walsh receives an unexpected letter. It's from a Chinese man, written in English, clearly translated. The letter says, "I was a soldier in Korea, July 1953. An American soldier shot at me and missed. I know he missed on purpose. I never forgot. I wanted to say thank you for letting me live. I have a family now because of you." Walsh is stunned. He writes back, asks how the man found him. The man explains, After the war, he'd wondered about the American soldier who missed. He'd seen the shot hit the dirt next to him. Too close to be an accident, too far to be a good shot from that range. He concluded it was deliberate. Years later, he immigrated to the United States. He tracked down veterans of the units that were in that sector in July 1953. Eventually found someone who remembered a soldier missing on purpose. That led him to Walsh. Walsh and the Chinese veteran, whose name is Chen Wei, begin corresponding. They exchange letters for several years. Chen tells Walsh about his life. He survived the war, returned to China, became a teacher, got married, has 2 children, he says. Because you didn't kill me, my children exist. Thank you. Walsh is moved. He'd never thought about the consequences of missing. He just made a split-second decision that killing someone 2 days before the war ended seemed wrong. But that decision had created a family. Chen's children. And eventually Chen's grandchildren. In 1985, Chen visits the United States. He meets Walsh in Philadelphia. It's an emotional meeting. 2 old soldiers, once enemies, now friends. They spend a weekend together, talking about the war, about their lives, about that moment in July 1953. Chen tells Walsh, "You know, after you missed, I had you in my sights. I could have shot you, but I didn't. Because if you were letting me live, I should let you live too. We both went home because of that decision." Walsh hadn't known this. He'd assumed the Chinese soldier just didn't see him, but Chen had seen him, had chosen not to shoot. It was mutual, a reciprocal decision to stop killing with 48 hours left in the war. They discussed the unofficial ceasefire that followed, how their decision spread along the line, how hundreds, maybe thousands of soldiers on both sides stopped shooting because one American missed and one Chinese soldier didn't return fire. Chen says, "We started something. A small piece before the big piece. Maybe we saved lives. Maybe someone else would have been killed in those 48 hours if the fighting had continued." Walsh nods. "I've thought about that. How many guys didn't die because we stopped shooting? We'll never know, Chen. Does it matter? Even if it was just you and me, that's 2 lives, 2 families, worth it." After Chen returns to China, he and Walsh continue writing. They stay in touch until Chen's death in 2003. Walsh keeps the letters. In 2008, a historian researching the final days of the Korean War contacts Walsh. The historian has been interviewing veterans, trying to document what happened in the 48 hours before the armistice. He's heard rumors about an unofficial ceasefire in Sector 7. Walsh tells him the story, the missed shot, the reciprocal mercy, the spreading ceasefire. The historian is fascinated. He asks, "Do you regret missing? Do you think you should have taken the shot?" Walsh thinks carefully. "No, I don't regret it. The war was over. Killing Chen wouldn't have changed anything except that he'd be dead and his kids wouldn't exist. I made the right call." Remember Private Danny Walsh, the rifleman who missed on purpose, the shot that didn't kill, and the ceasefire that started with one decision to show mercy when the war was already over. Walsh understood something that military doctrine doesn't teach. Sometimes the right thing to do is not follow through. Sometimes mercy is more strategic than violence. Sometimes letting someone live is the most important mission you'll ever have. Chen Wei understood this too. He could have shot Walsh. He didn't. 2 soldiers, 2 decisions, 2 families that exist because of it. That's the real victory. Not territory won or battles fought, but lives preserved and futures enabled. Walsh's legacy isn't in any military record. It's in Chen Wei's family tree. 3 generations, living, working, contributing. All because one American private decided that killing someone 2 days before the war ended was pointless. That's wisdom. That's humanity. That's what we should remember about war. Not just the battles and the strategies, but the moments when soldiers chose mercy over duty, when human connection overcame institutional pressure, when one man decided another man deserved to live even though they were enemies. Danny Walsh made that choice. Chen Wei reciprocated. And somewhere in China right now, there are grandchildren and great-grandchildren who exist because of it. They probably don't know the full story, but they're alive, and that's all that matters. Remember this when you think about war, about duty and orders and following commands. Remember that sometimes in the chaos and violence there are moments of choice. Moments when you can show mercy or inflict harm. Walsh chose mercy, and 2 families are grateful he did. That's the shot that mattered most, the one he missed on purpose. 2 days before the war ended, 1 Chinese soldier who lived, and all the lives that followed from that decision. That's legacy. That's impact. That's humanity winning over war. Even if just for a moment, even if just for 1 shot. That moment mattered. That shot mattered. Danny Walsh mattered. Remember him.